Hi, everyone. Hi, this is Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network, and thank you for tuning in for another Career Smarts virtual masterclass. Tonight's subject is going to be HR Confidential, and our special guest is Miss Tawana Baghwat. Now, I'm going to let Tawana introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about her. But before we get started, for those of you guys who are in our Facebook group, please, you can share your comments and ask questions in the comment box on Facebook. We'll be doing a Q&A throughout the entire time. This is going to be a juicy topic, you guys. So you might as well go ahead and get ready, because we're going to be giving you some real deal on what it really means to leverage your HR department at your job. So without further ado, Miss Tawana, please take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I was going to say good afternoon, ladies, but it could be some men that's joining. You know, they always like to peek in every now and then. My name is Tawana Baghwat, and I have been an HR leader for corporate America for over 21 years. I recently retired in January, and I'm having a blast. A little bit about my background. I was the executive coach to the president of CoverGirl. And with that responsibility, it was a global role. So I had employees that I was responsible for all over the globe. And half of my job was located in Maryland. The other half was in Switzerland. And that, of course, was amazing in and of itself. But I had the opportunity to do lots of coaching with leaders, to be an employee champion when employees needed to understand what their benefits look like when they got into, sticky situations. And that was always very fun. I also had the pleasure of dealing with compensation, benefits, you name it. I had the opportunity to touch. But more importantly, I enjoyed being a business partner. So I got to spend quite a bit of time strategizing with the leaders of the organization to figure out what's the best people plan. And how does that work and complement the business? So I'm looking forward to sharing some secrets, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to help you navigate as you take on different opportunities or struggles as you build your career. So please send in your comments and questions so we can have a real conversation tonight.
Absolutely. So we're looking forward to that. So let's jump right into it. So tonight really is all about how to leverage your HR department as a Black woman at work. So we really want to be able tonight to talk about specific things about HR that can help you to get clarity on how to navigate and handle situations, anything that you feel like you deem necessary. So please, we want your questions so Tawana can definitely answer those. So I want to start out specifically by having Tawana share with us specifically what really is the purpose of an HR department within an organization. And we know that there's a lot of companies that may not have a quote unquote team, right? Some places they outsource their HR to overseas and things like that. But when you have a true HR department within an organization, what truly is the purpose of having human resources on site?
So I would say the main purpose of HR is really about maximizing productivity and optimizing people. So I'm a firm believer that your people in any organization is your most valuable asset, regardless of what you're branding, selling, creating, making. Your people are the ones who make it happen every single day. And HR should be that voice in the organization that is figuring out how to optimize their employees to have you to bring the best version of yourself. And I specifically, use that language around the best version of yourself, because as you know, it can get heavy at work easily. And then you lose yourself because you become even consumed with the work or the politics or the chit chatter that's going on, and those things become a distraction.
Okay.
So, HR should navigate that.
So tell me if this phrase is true. Okay, I'm going to read it to you real quick. HR's primary function is not to help employees, it's to protect the company from its employees. Now, was it a true statement, or is there a little bit of truth to that, or what does that really mean?
So I would tell you that HR, because of so many issues that they have in the company, whether they're managing politics or people or a combination thereof, they have become more policing for the good of the company versus for the people. And I say that a good HR person is someone that can balance the two of those.
Okay, so I like that. So with that being said, and you heard what you guys heard what Tawana said now, so she kind of gets some clarity around that so we can bust the myth, right? We can bust the myth that it's, now tell me, when do you find, because there are some companies that are pro employee and pro employer.
Right.
So how can an employee decipher which HR team is that they have in their organization?
So I would say, look at your employee handbook. It is clear telltale signs in that handbook if you really pay attention. When you see language that can constantly say, we have no tolerance, this is unacceptable, right? A bunch of no's. You see their level of not being flexible, right? When you don't see policies like severe weather, that means they expect you to show up.
Wow.
Even though it's 6 inches outside. So I want you to start out by looking at the language in the handbook and then look for what's not there. Because that gives them an out to say, we don't have a policy on that. The expectation is that you move as normal, right? Unless they're, have taken the time to think about what their position is. And most times we do that from the perspective of what we don't want you to do versus what we do want you to do.
Wow. So, I mean, I like how you put that about the don't want you do versus what you do. So with that being said, I was going to segue me right into this next part, which is about finding out what your company's hidden agendas are, and then the company's real motives. We're talking about protection money, open support, and their edge in the marketplace. Now, from what I hear you saying is that some of these things can fall into the alignment of the handbook as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tend not to believe that there's a hidden agenda, because most companies do have well intentions. It is the people that they hire, called your managers.
Yes.
Represent their ideology that will have you to believe that they're out to get you or they really don't care. I don't think any company starts out, from that framework. It's just over time, people get comfortable in their position and they'll do whatever they need to do to protect it. And in particular, if they see you as a threat, Black women with your eyes rolling and your head moving from side to side, you become intimidating quickly. And don't be good at what you do, because then that's a whole nother conversation.
So I love how you said this, because it's so true. And I think sometimes people forget it is the people. It is the people that are in the positions with their, like you said, with their ideologies, their mentalities. They're bringing all that mess to the workplace and semi kind of abusing or misinterpreting and using these company policies for their own reckless, way of being able to manage, I would say.
I would say to you, and I know this to be true because any employee that I've had over my 20-year experience, we try to do exit interviews to just get at what's been the trends of why people are leaving, what are they saying. And when you're leaving, whether you're getting fired or coached out or you're just transitioning, you typically don't care. You call everybody name, Bob, Tom, Dick, Sarah, and you will call the roll for your reasons. And what I found is people don't typically quit a company, they quit their managers.
Right.
right? So
Mhm.
they're just fed up. They're tired of the team, they're tired of the managers, they're tired of the culture. But the company in and of itself, when you typically join a company, if you don't do this, you should. You should check out what their morals, their values, their principles are, and make sure that they align with yours. And if you can't find anything in common, the likelihood that you will be set up for success is slim to none.
Now, what if there, what this, in this case, I'll play devil's advocate a little bit on that. So, what if it's where, hey, it is in line with your company values, right? I mean, your values and the company's values are in alignment. The role is a good role, but you do have this boss from hell that you're dealing
Yep.
with, right? So that's a whole other kind of entity that, because you like the organization, you like what it stands for, but you have someone in the role that's difficult, that's making it difficult for you to do your job, or should I say, semi-sabotaging it in a way. So let's talk a little bit about how to handle a difficult boss. And let's talk about if you should even go to HR about that. And if you do, will there be any backlash or consequences to that? Or how can they recognize that?
So there are so many layers there.
I know.
Right. Let me start with having difficult bosses.
Okay.
As I matured in my business savvy as well as in my career, one of the things that I would say is people tend to want to run from difficult bosses, but there is a lesson in it for you. Now, I am not saying that to say that anyone should be mistreated or not handled properly or disrespected by any means, but there's just difficult people in life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a skill set, and I call it a science and an art to how to manage difficult people. And I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to come back to build on how you do that. But in that space of should you go back to have HR to support you? Absolutely. But the first question I always ask is, did you share with that person how they impact you? Whether it was their tone, they called you out in a meeting, whatever you perceived that did not gel or felt good to you. I want to know if you started out by giving them that feedback. Then my next question I always ask is, what do you believe is the best solution? And I get all types of questions. Fire them, get rid of them, move me, just put me in another department. And it's not that those answers are wrong. It's just we want to make sure that we navigate it and manage to the best of our ability, because sometimes you can't move people.
Right.
Sometimes you're not in a position to fire, that boss. And then the role that HR play is to try to navigate the two of you to close the gap that you've identified and help make sure that both people are being heard. Because 9 times out of 10, when we get into, the friction of any type of relationship, it's a communication breakdown. It's not clear on roles and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
It is unreasonable acts, right? It is someone is pushing you to tolerate something that is not in alignment with who you are as a person and as a professional. So those are categories that I would try to group why we get to where we are. But I do think that you should involve HR, because, excuse my language, is the shit hit the fan. You can have a track record for when you reached out for help.
That's true. I do agree with that. That you can have a track record of when you reach out for help. So what I hear you saying is that women should not be fearful to go to, specifically Black women. They should not be fearful to go to their HR team, right?
No,
okay.
Be. Not only that, you should hold them accountable, just like you would your manager. I would ask the question, what I'm coming to you because I have a problem and I'm unsure how to handle it. Giving our policies and procedures, and the people here, I'm looking for coaching. Should you get coaching and you try what they have offered and it doesn't work, you should go back again. And the next time you go back, you ask for them to be in the room with you when you're having a discussion with the manager or the co-worker or whomever that you deem is difficult or having to create an uncomfortable scenario. And as we continue to talk, I'm going to tell you some real good trigger words to get HR moving.
Let's talk about that. So here, I like where this is going, because here's what I'm thinking. So they go to HR, they have this conversation. They want someone to be present when they have the conversation with their manager. Should they? How, if someone is worried about retaliation on their manager's part, how should they handle this during the conversation? How should they let them know, I'm aware there's a possibility there may be some retaliation, and how can they handle that? We don't want to ignore the fact that we don't want to take it off the table, nor let's rule it out. How can they address that in the meeting to say and recognize, what their recourse of action could be if they feel like some retaliation may happen on their manager's part?
Absolutely. You should put it out on the table. Mm-hmm. You should say it right there in front of everyone. And I said this the last time we was together. I love awkward silence. So don't say it as a rhetorical. Pause and force them to respond. Oh, no, that would never be the case. Oh, no, we don't operate like that. Fantastic. Then I just want to be reassured that this is not the case and this is the process that I'm supposed to follow. If there's another process, I want to make sure we all hear it so that we can follow it together. But I will tell you what my concern is. And you say retaliation about 6 or 7 times in a meeting.
Yeah, because and the reason why I brought this up, you guys, and wanted her to explain this is because what you want them to understand is that you are educated on what this process is.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be played. You don't want them to think they can get over on you. What you're doing is verbally acknowledging that you understand that that's a possibility. You want to make sure it's clear that that's not going to happen. So you have to
hold them accountable to it.
Exactly. And hold them
one of the things, I'm sorry, Sherry, one of the things that people are concerned about is what's in my file. What have they wrote about me? What do they know about me? But you know what? You get to keep a file too. Mm-hmm. You get to keep a file. You get to document when you requested a meeting. What did you request a meeting on? You get to summarize your takeaway from the meeting and copy everyone on it. That's a timestamp as a legal document, by the way, should you have to go down a different path. Hint, hint.
Exactly. So I'm typing in here, look, documentation is your best friend, okay?
And if you really want a nice quote to hold on to, documentation beats conversation.
Uh-oh, okay, that's a tweet, okay?
Hashtag.
Yes, documentation beats conversation. You guys hear that? Somebody tweet that out, please. That's good though. But I always talk about document.
Yes.
And I so agree with Tawana that the more that you verbally acknowledge that you understand what this process is and what different types of recourse and action could possibly happen, and you make it clear that you recognize what that could be, then they know they can't play with you. They got it. It makes them step up and do what they're supposed to do in the right way. And unfortunately, it's like that. The HR team may have the right policies and procedures in place, but it doesn't mean human nature. That person that's in that role is going to do the right thing.
Right. It's always a question, and you don't know. And to be quite honest, in today's corporate environment, there's not a lot of trust. Yeah. There's not a trust of the manager. There's not trust of the leadership. There's not trust of HR. So most time people do feel like they have no recourse, nowhere to go, no one to help them. However, sorry for all the little quotes, but my mom always said, closed mouths don't get fed. Mm-hmm. So you can assume that they're gonna and they should know, and if they and when they, but it's on you to demand the standard in which you joined a company and you believe that standard was there. And that's what they're there for. HR is there to support the employees, to be the ambassadors as well. As part of HR role, they're not only strategic partners or business partners, but they should also be employee champions. And when I say that, I mean, again, coming from a Fortune 100 company, we have policies in place that says an employee needs an emergency loan. because their water pipes broke or anything, and we don't, they just don't have it. We gave them up to $1,000, which is within 48 hours. But for me, sitting as an HR, to be able to support my employee that way and be able to sign off on that, it made me feel really good. And they didn't have to pay it all back. We did installments for 1 year, $24 out your check. So that's the employee champion. My wife has cancer. I got all these different drugs I have to buy. I don't know what insurance cover. That too speaks to the support of how HR should show up for their employees. So there is things, and then there are change agents, right? If they run across an issue that really needs to be addressed that everyone should benefit from, they should be that champion to move the organization in a different direction and holding a mirror standard up to the leaders that says we really need to consider this, so that they can build loyalty and have an organization where people want to come to work. And that's not the case for every organization, right?
That's true. And I think that the more that you can educate yourself and identify, you can value an HR team who really, and recognize, and when you have an HR team that is a champion for employees, right? And so that's something that you can hold in high regard as a value and a huge benefit to being in the organization when you see that. And then but also at the same time, recognizing when you do have an HR team that needs some help.
Right. So, there's a lot of them out here. Most of the time, their jobs is just to police. They are the policy police. That's what I call them. They couldn't work for me, but I'm just saying that's real. Their job is to make sure everyone march in a straight line and got their heads straight and they're buckled down at their desk and they're doing their work. And God forbid you got a problem, and come see them. If that's real and that does exist. But I wouldn't tell you to do anything different, though, Sherry. Yeah, I would say hold them more accountable.
Yeah, that's true. You do have to hold them more accountable. And so, guys, do not be, look, this is a great time to ask Tawana questions. So please, put your questions in the box. If you're watching live from Facebook, this is a good time to ask some questions of Tawana, because it's like no holds bar, HR Confidential. This is a great time to get these questions answered. So let's dig in about, I know a lot of Black women specifically feel, when they get to that place in a certain job where they feel like they're being pushed out, right? Pushed out, managed out, whatever the latest craze term is right now. So I know a couple of danger signs that people need to recognize. And sometimes we have that gut feeling that it's happening. Now, is there validity to all of that? I don't know. How do you feel about that? I mean, sometimes we have sure tell signs that we're being pushed out, and then others, it could be a gray area. So before we kind of go into some of the danger signs that we feel like might be, absolutely things that could be pushing you out or pushing someone out, what do you feel are things that will validate the truth of that, or is it all kind of just left to interpretation?
So I think there's a couple of things. I have experienced, and to be quite honest, been a part of pushing people out. Okay. So it happens. And I would also tell you, before I answer that question, it's actually easier to fire someone than to push someone out. Because typically when you're firing, it's like, it's clear, it's blatant, right? You're like, I'm done. That's it. It's over. They lied. They stole something. Those things are really clear. It's when you get into this fuzzy space around interpretation. Manager's been tracking you for some time and you have no idea. You thought you missed the deadline and they said, no problem, get it done. And then the minute that they're done, they go back to all those no problem. Or they didn't give you the data, but they leave that part out.
Right.
For why you missed the deadline. Right. And so I think some of the telltale signs that is happening is when your work starts to become in question, kind of just out the blue, or you people nitpicking, right? For every little thing, you sent this email and it went to 20 people, but you missed Tom. He's one of your clear stakeholders. And your question is like, when did that happen? I don't even work with Tom, right? So those are telltale signs. Or you start to get conversation about the organization is going to be redesigning. We don't know how many people are going to be here. And then you go and check with your coworkers to say, did you get this conversation? Did you know? And they're like, no, never heard of. Didn't you just have your one-to-one and they didn't tell you, but they told me, and they make you feel like you're special. You're the only one that can know. It could be because it only applies to you.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one.
Because it only applies to you, but you're thinking you're in the know. So I would say check it. Check what they're telling you. You're sworn to secrecy because it's about you.
So what specifically about if your workload is heavier than someone else's, or if they kind of omit you from certain meetings, or like you said, information about deadlines, things like that. So that's something that we should not take lightly. I'm assuming, right?
Absolutely.
We should not take lightly.
Absolutely. Those are definite red flags. I think that's a good one. That probably should have popped in my head because that happens actually first. To be quite honest, you don't need to go to that meeting, but they're talking about my work. Why I don't need to come, right? Because they're already thinking in their mind, they want to see if someone else will play up with you not being there. So they're testing the waters. Or if they tell you, that's too much, your plate is full, let's give this to, and in your mind you're going, well, I have 10 things to do that falls in my role. And the other 5 things belongs to someone else. You want me to hold on to the other 5 things and give the meaty stuff to someone else that actually is what I should be doing. So there is some science to the madness of how that starts to play out, and leaving you out or having you to prepare for important leadership meetings and not allowing you to present.
Now that I hear a lot.
Yes. And you would think they would tell you that you're preparing for your boss. And sometimes that's very true. And I can honestly tell you that there's times when everyone wants to get in front of the leadership team and we realize we got a room of 50 and we have to cut it down because it's too many. However, that's legitimate and it does happen sometimes. But the other side of that is, preparing, but you're not presenting. And then you realize that Tom, Dick, and Harry got to stay in the room and they could add tons of comments on your work and not mention your name one time or give you credit.
I mean, that's just pimping. That's just straight up just. I don't even know this. I mean, just straight pimping. Not even pimping 101. That's just pimping 1000 right there.
Right. But it's true and it happens. I do believe that those are clear telltale signs. And I don't want, the audience to leave here being so paranoid.
Right.
What I do want you to do is just note it. And as you start to see a trend, then check it. Check it with your manager, check it with other team members. And I would ask you not to be so blatant coming out the box.
Mm-hmm.
Just check it and see. And document.
Document.
Then when it's time to have the conversation, you say, here's what I've seen. I want to check with you to make sure I'm not, making this up, but this is how this feels. They will absolutely deny it. And when they deny it, you go, great. I'm happy to hear that's not the case. So we have a big meeting coming up. I'm expecting to be in the room and present, right?
And it should be.
And you have awkward silence. I love awkward silence. Don't lead the witness. Let them answer and hold them accountable to it.
So I love all these things that Tawana is talking about is what I consider communicating with power, What you're doing is you're giving yourself power by communicating with them, putting it back on them to be able, forcing them to respond to you with whatever BS they think they're gonna come with. But what you're doing is allowing them to say, "I see you. I see what you're trying to pull, what you're trying to do, and I'm calling you out. You need to answer me." So this is these are the power moves that you need to be able to make to help them to understand they can't play with you. They got to come correct, and that you are smart enough to understand how to respond to the BS if you need to. But you got to call them out. You got to help make them know that you acknowledge what's going on, and then that way you can try to deal with it accordingly.
I love it.
Question.
Keep your power.
Keep your power. Own it. Communicate with power. All right. So we got a question here. She says, "My question is, how do you handle a supervisor who isn't willing to properly train you?"
Also happen quite often. Supervisors should have the ability to spot great talent. And they normally want you on their team until they believe that you are a threat or could show them up. So when those things occur, I would say you first seek out who else is an expert in the company and you become their friend. So you can get your needs met irregardless to the challenges that you have with your supervisor. Then I go back to documentation beats conversation, but we should always start with the conversation. Here is what I believe my role is. Here's what I believe the expectation, and these are the tools and skill sets that I need in order to accomplish that. And I'm trying to figure out how to navigate who helps me to get those. And as I've gone to other people, they continue to redirect me back to you. Is there someone else I should be looking to? So you got to be comfortable with knowing what you know and be willing to confront in a very professional way. And from that, it lays a basis for how you want to communicate. We typically start out very passive because we're giving them the benefit of the doubt. I would say that's not a strategy that I adopted early on in my career. I took the stance of being very vocal. And you could get labeled as a troublemaker. And sometimes that stressed the hell out of people. I was okay with being labeled as a troublemaker because I got my needs met. Mm-hmm. So that goes back to that closed mouths don't get fed. I remained professional. I kept my emotions under tact, but I was powerful in my words, and I was very intentional about what my end goal was. And we sometimes struggle with wanting people to like us. I don't need you to like me. I do require you to respect me. And then you are responsible for giving me the tools I need to be successful at my job. That is the role of the manager.
That's right. Respect.
Helpful, Miss B.
So, Miss B, I hope that answered your question. Ingrid has a question here. She says, what is the philosophy behind those tactics? I think what she's talking about is the tactics of behind, the push out. I believe that's what Ingrid was talking about is, pushing out, the tactics that they use to do that. Why, what's the philosophy behind it?
Yeah. So when you're pushing someone out, or we should use the language managing out people, it's very delicate, right? Because most times it's people who have seniority or tenure, right? They possess an expertise that have allowed them to get away with lots of things that maybe the company normally wouldn't have tolerance for. Their misstep may not be so blatant, right? Again, it's up for interpretation. So with that said, 3 people can look at the scenario in 3 different ways and may come out with 3 different solutions for how to manage. So when you get to a place where you have alignment to move people out, and don't get me wrong, some of them could be built on lies of interpretation.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't communicate well. She's not punctual. She doesn't show up. She has this. She has that. It can be a long laundry list where the manager is building a case against you. But in that, we concluded that it's not enough to just flat out fire you. So then that's where the philosophy comes around, how do we manage out? Now, ladies, let me say this. When you're in, and I hope you're not, but if it ever occurs that you're in a scenario to get managed out, your fight or the focus of your fight, most time people's focus is on keeping their job. And I would ask you to change that. Because why do you want to remain someplace that don't want you? What your focus should be on is how do you win as you walk out the door? And the winning for me is dollars. They give termination pay, they give separation pay. That's what you want to have a conversation. How do you bridge me as I transition out to look for the next best thing? That's the conversation you want to have. I can't believe if you decide you want to threaten them with suing and it wasn't right and I'm going to stay, you're going to be miserable because they're going to be pissed that they had got made to have you to stay. If you're buying your time so you can get that next best thing, I get it. But be very clear, ladies, that you should be very focused, intentional, and deliberate about your next steps when you get very clear that you're being managed out. I've seen people cry, and not because you can't, but when it's all said and done, I've asked them the question, do you really want to be here after this experience?
I know, right?
Like,
I agree with
and
that.
I'm the one that's part of delivering the message. And I want to know. And I'm not saying that to you to say that because as an HR manager, you don't have the final decision. It is your manager. They come to HR to get coaching on, is this legal? Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I say this? HR is there to help navigate. They try to keep the employees whole and the manager or company whole. So that's where you see HR start the sway back and forth. Now and again, I'm leaving corporate as a vice president, so I didn't play a whole lot of bullshit on my watch. They had to come correct and we deal accordingly. But at the levels below that with just, managers, HR managers, and your manager may outrank them just in levels in the company. So sometimes they can show up as their hands being tied, but you're thinking, why isn't HR stopping him? Can't HR see? It's not HR's job to fire a person. It's not even HR job to hire. Managers interview you, HR screens, and then the manager goes, I want this person, they've met this criteria. The manager goes and say, I'm recommending this person get terminated. HR look at the policies and rules, and then that's how that partnering take place. Some managers are cowards, by the way. So they get their HR leaders to deliver the message. Not on my watch. I didn't have my HR leaders that worked for me to terminate people. That is a skill set that a manager should know how to have. And the only way to get that is to practice. And you got to own your shit. You want this person gone, you need to deliver that.
Yeah. So look, that was okay. That was some goods right there. Okay. Massive notes. How do you win? So because again, when you're Tawana, you're so right. These women feel powerless. They're crying. They feel like they have, they feel like they have no other, recourse because they may not have a go to hell fund at home. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they feel like they have to hang on to this job, but that's not necessarily true. You do have to know your value and your worth and know that if you stay keeping yourself marketable, you should be able to move on to the next job. So absolutely. I think you're so right. And I'm glad you said that because, what she's done, what you've done is given validation to things I always talk about is that you need to walk away from that. Don't stay. Probably just like staying in a bad relationship with the guy when he had done all this dirt and you were seeing, he had done this dirt and then you're going to take him back anyway, or you're going to still try to hang in there with him anyway. Same thing.
And I was going to add to that, Sherry, because what I found is, and as women in particular, these days our work is defining who we are.
And it shouldn't. And it should not.
Right. And you lose yourself to the point that when you need that strength to get up and walk away, you can't, because you go, what am I going to do? When you should be asking yourself, how do I want to be as I walk away from something that's not good for me?
Right.
And you know when enough is enough. I can't tell you when you say, that's it, I'm done. You know when that's it.
Oh yeah, I know. It's plenty of times I said F that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, F that, I got to go. I mean, you know your tolerance level, but you shouldn't have to allow your tolerance level to take for it to take so long. This is why we're having this virtual masterclass tonight, and so you women, so you can get savvy and recognize when these things are happening to you and take back your power and start to create a strategy for moving out of that. You know, putting yourself in a position to win, but knowing what to do. So long gone is the days about I don't know what to do, and I need to stay here because I got to pay the rent. Yeah, we all got to pay the rent, but at what cost? You know, because if it's costing your health, you can't pay any rent because you won't be here to pay it. So
that's right.
You gotta, you know, you
or
gotta
laid up in the hospital.
Yeah, laid up in the hospital.
To figure it out. Yeah.
Or taking a medical leave and you just biding your time. And so, which, you know, a lot of people do. So you gotta get real about that. And this is, you know, Tawana's giving you guys some nuggets tonight about how to shift and change this for yourself. Hey, Monica. So Monica says here, what you saying, Monica? Hitting home the fear of walking away if you don't have the financial safety net. Absolutely. You know,
it's real, Monica. And I would honestly tell you that I am by no means trying to encourage anyone to walk away without a plan.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. It is so important for you to have a plan because we wear so many hats. We're the mother, the auntie, the wife, the cousin, the daughter that only takes care of the daddy or the mother. I mean, all of those things are real in our life. And we're trying to go to school and got a side hustle and you name it. Black women are powerful and we got it going on. So I am saying to you that you should get a plan. When you decide enough is enough, then you work your plan and you work it at the same energy and energetic that you given that job. That's right. A reality check for all of us. And I can honestly say, ladies, I don't sit here today as not being a workaholic because I was, and I worked myself into sickness. And I should have said enough is enough a long time ago. I am thankful, though, for the mercy of God to still decide to keep me breathing because I couldn't say enough is enough. But now I'm in a space where I can and I will. There is no going back. So I want to give you all that.
So before we shift gears a little bit, Tawana, I want you to kind of share with them some of these buzzwords that you were talking about that kind of can help to, you know, kind of get HR shaking in their boots a little bit. And I want to shift gears to something else a little bit different. So kind of share with them a little bit, and I'm going to put them up on the screen for you guys as she share those. So, all right, take it away, Tawana.
The first one was retaliation. You said it. That's good. The next one is a hostile work environment, right? Okay. Hostile, right? Okay. The next one is I don't feel comfortable or safe continuing to work in an environment, right, that caused me to be concerned about my well-being. And see, well-being has a different twist to it. Well-being speaks to mental, it speaks to physical, it speaks to your environment. When you're in an environment where you don't feel safe, you cannot focus, you can't deliver, right? So you talk about, the next one is to say about the culture is unhealthy. Use words like it's toxic. That's a better one. The culture is toxic.
Yeah.
Right? Things like, I believe my manager is out to get me.
Mm-hmm.
We got, what? Out to get you? How is that? What is that? Right? We go nuts over out to get me, right? I think one of the stronger ones that I've said out of all of those is this hostile environment. And you got to define hostile. So I want to go back to that one just for a minute, because hostile work environment is an environment that creates a space for you to not feel safe, one, to not be able to do the job that you were hired to do, two, to feel like you have potential retaliation and know where to go to support you to reconcile whatever differences you have. So that hostile environment in and of itself encompasses quite a few things. The last word I would throw out there is it's not equitable or fair. And when I speak about not being equitable, that this is not a level playing field. Now, people would say, oh, we've been saying that for years. Yes, but you've been saying it behind closed doors with your friends.
Right.
You haven't sat in front of HR and says, I've seen Tom get this assignment, this pay raise, and I haven't. People will tell you, don't go into the room. I would even say it and call other people names because this is about you. And your response is, you're absolutely right. It is about me, but I'm calling these names specifically to give you real live examples of what I know to be true. Was that helpful?
Yeah, let us know if this is helpful. So we're going to go ahead to Candace's question. Hi, Candace. It's how do you deal with cliques or catty female coworkers you do not fit in with?
So, Candace, honey, they ain't going away. Well, let's just start there. They've been around for centuries, okay? I recommend a couple of things. One is try not to get caught up, as hard as that may seem, right? Because they want to draw you in any way they can. Two is, you already said it, you don't fit in, so why try? And I also believe that there's this notion around we come to work to get friends. Not saying that that's you, but in that I work with people however they are. I can meet them however they are. But I shared this last time I was there. You teach people how to treat you. How catty, how cliquish they are. When I come around, they're like, there she go. Let me go ahead and give her what she wants so she can go. I love that they say that about me. Give me my shit so I can go. I love it. But if you got a problem with people saying certain things that will bother you because you're sensitive, then you may struggle with catty women. Don't try to fit in. Leave them alone. Get what you need to get from them and keep it moving.
I don't
have a corporate response to that. That's
I love it. She was like, get what you need, keep it moving. Then you got your answer. So yes. Jalea says, are PIPs another tactic primarily used to manage employees out?
It absolutely is a tactic, even though it's not designed for that. So a PIP is designed, its premise, whether it's done or not, is to change behavior. However, if that behavior does not change, it does cover the company to be able to coach you out and clearly have called out and documented your performance. PIPs are typically done for 90 days. However, there have been times where I've seen PIPs done for 30 and 60 days. And when they're short, you should be concerned because they're not giving you an opportunity to truly change the behavior. So we talk about telltale signs. That's one for you.
That's that one.
Do it 30 days because that's how long it takes you to understand what they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, if the PIP, I'm putting this in here so you guys can take a note. If the PIP is short, you need to you definitely, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Because
I tend to stay away from 30-day PIPs. If someone say, I'm putting you in a PIP and we're going to do it for 30 days, I would say, well, since it's that short, let's just call it an action plan, because they're not smart enough to do it. So you manage the hell out of them while they're trying to manage you. If a manager comes to me and say, I want to put someone in a PIP and I want it to be for 30 days, I'm like, give them an action plan. Don't put them in a PIP. Make an amendment to their work plan that we can specifically target, 1 or 2 behaviors that we're trying to change. If they got 3 or 4, then it's going to take you 90 days. Because in a PIP, you got a short leash. Let me just be clear. There is no room for mess up. I try to give them that first 30 days, 15 days that realize that this could go south real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So you typically still have some hiccups in that first 30-day window. By that next 30-day, excuse me, I should start to see people turn the corner. By 90 days, I'm looking that you are sustaining the behavior that I was looking for you to change. But in 30 days,
right,
you don't really have no intentions on keeping this person. And when they come to me, I tell them, let's not waste our time. What's the real problem here?
So tell me, Tawana, when you've got, so Monica says, yes, they want to coach you through, put you in a 30-day PIP. Yes, shortly say that.
Yeah, it's very true.
So tell me this, how often, or is this legal? And I'm asking this question just from, I haven't experienced it, but I just, so people can be clear. If you were put on a PIP and say it is a 90-day PIP, you come back, you do everything that the expectation, what is required for you to do. You come back, you've done it. There's time to meet now. And then they come back and say, well, yeah, you've done everything, but we still have decided to terminate your employment.
So that is real, and it can happen because most companies and states are at will.
Right.
So technically they can terminate you. And them putting you in a PIP is their way of covering their butt that, their intentions were to let you go. But let me give you some tips on that. First of all, you should not go to a PIP review at the end of your 90 days. It is required.
I was hoping you was going to say that.
Weekly meetings on feedback, what's working, what's not working, so there's no surprises. And then what I required was at a 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day, you had to have a review with your HR and manager in the room. But all your reviews should be written. They should be summarized, and there should be a place on your PIP or an attachment summarizing, here's what Tawana did well, she was in line with the expectations, here's what she didn't. Don't let them get away with not doing that. Remember, I started out by saying documentation beats conversation. Don't tell me I'm awesome and you're not willing to write it.
Right. So let's back up real quick, Tiffany, before we talk about before Tawana answers your question. So just so we're clear and that the viewers understand, if you're on a PIP and you're on a 90-day PIP, should they be asking for, should the employee be asking for a 30-day review, a 60 before they even get to the 90? They should be asking for that themselves.
At a minimum, you should have that, but I would encourage you to at least have a review of your performance every other week, if not every week.
During the PIP.
So if you're in a 90-day PIP, you should have every 30 days, you should at least have 2 reviews. So when you hit that first 30 day, you know how you're doing. There shouldn't be no surprises. And they have to tell you you're doing well, you're not doing well. And in that time, that gives you the opportunity to course correct. But if you don't have it to the end of 90 days, how do you know what you're delivering is what they were looking for? And I will also tell you, make sure your PIPs are clear. When I say that, people tell me, I'm putting this person in a PIP because they're not dependable and reliable. What the hell does that mean? They're not dependable and reliable. Well, what makes them dependable and reliable? Because we have to have action steps. Well, I need them to report in. They start at 8 o'clock. They need to be here at 8. Okay, check. What else makes them dependable and reliable? When I give them an assignment, they deliver it on time. Okay, great. That's what you should be writing. Don't let them put anything on that paper that's vague. If they do, you're like, I don't know what this means. I don't know how to deliver against this. And every PIP should have a support structure attached to it. What that means is that they are giving you tools and systems to help you be successful. Just because you're in a PIP, you're still an employee. We give it to employees who are not in a PIP. We give them systems and structures to support them to get their work done. That does not get taken away from you. Now, on the flip side of that, if all those things are provided and you still don't meet expectations, then you should be prepared to exit.
Right, right. So Tiffany says, if you found yourself on a 30-day PIP, how could you negotiate a package in your favor?
Interesting that you ask. I am not in support of giving packages to people who are in a PIP. Number one. That's me. And I'll tell you why. I'm also not in support of 30-day PIPs. So just making the connection between the two. However, if you're in a normal 90-day PIP and you understand that these people are looking to manage you out and they're using the PIP as the tactic or the vehicle to do that, then I would say you should start to have conversation with them early on that says, are we really going to make this work? Are you really going to support me to be successful at this? Because if not, I don't want to waste your time or my time. What I would like to understand is how can we both create a win-win where I transition out and you get what you are looking for. They would be so freaking shocked that you said this to them and they won't know what to do with it. And you can tell them that you in a network of powerful women that has HR experience and know that it's possible.
I know that's right.
And guess what I'm going to say to you? Well, it sounds like you don't really want to make this work, that you're already giving up before we start. And you know what your response is? Nope, I never come here to give up, but I am very clear that you have given up on me. So I'm trying to find out what's the next best path for both of us.
Okay.
With confidence.
Now that right there, that girl, look, this girl, if they had a mic,
You drop it, bam.
That's like boom. You know what I'm saying? That right there is like boom. I mean, that's just like that right there is epic. Okay, communicating with power, dropping bombs, power moves, the whole nine, boss moves. That's everything. That right there is everything. Everything. So I love it. Miss B says, what about when a supervisor places you on a PIP, but a few days later gives you a great evaluation? Okay, I'm gonna let you go ahead with that foolishness. Okay.
That just made me tired. Because it happens. And I be saying, what the F? What kind of messages are you sending? Like, it happens. This is so true. It does happen. And what I would say to you is when you get that, you hold on to that great evaluation. And then again, because you own your career, you say, I'm confused. I'm unsure what to do with this because you are sending me mixed messages. Am I a great performer or I'm not performing well? How should I take this? Because I didn't agree that I should be in the PIP, first of all. You gave me a great evaluation, which validated what I was thinking. So my ask, ladies, always have an ask, is that we end the PIP immediately, and I will continue to perform great based on this evaluation. You know how you be in the courtroom and you drop the bomb and then you like, Your Honor, I would like to have this case dismissed at once. That's what you're asking. asking for right there.
And then you leave the room and say, what the hell is wrong with her?
Exactly. And then don't take a long lunch. Like, I got doctor's appointments up and I gotta go because I'm gonna hurt somebody in here. But it does happen. It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw that and I knew you that would be a good one for you.
You already know I can't stand coming on your show because you get me all excited. All excited. Like, this is just madness.
Oh goodness, but you just see this, stuff like that. You guys, this has been great. Y'all keep the questions coming. I know it's 9 o'clock. I know we're going over, but any other questions you guys have for Tawana? Goodness, now this hour went fast. My goodness.
It always goes so fast.
Yeah. So any other questions for Tawana, you guys? This has been some great nuggets that she has shared tonight. So let's recap on we'll recap real quick on the managing out. I know that they want to make sure you get the nuggets on that. Let me click off of this here real quick so we can get that back up. Any other questions for Tawana, you guys? I know y'all got some.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
I want to help you. Own your power. Take it back. You got this.
You guys got this. This has been great stuff. I think as a Black woman at work, and well, you know what? Let's touch on this. I did want to shift gears real quick. So if you guys are good with coming with hanging a little while longer, let's hang. Okay, let's hang. Tawana, you got a little bit more time.
That's fine. Okay.
So I did want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about leadership. Okay. Leadership, being a Black woman at work in terms of desire to be in a leadership role, manager role, positioning yourself for the C-suite, that type of thing. So what are some of your recommendations since you've already been there in terms of that level, right? Because I talked about this last week about a frontline manager, mid-level, and then a VP C-suite, how when you're VP, like yourself, it's more of a mindset when it comes to management, where mid-level and frontline is more of like a skill, where that's more of the priority. So share with the women that are on here in terms of what kind of preparation or how do they position themselves in reference to become a leader, to become a manager, to position themselves for VP. What should they be looking to develop, to learn? What needs to change, shift? What kind of presence should they have in order to get into that space?
So I would say that each one of those levels are building blocks, number one, right? And number two, declaring early on what you want. And then having someone to look up to. One thing that was very important for me is I wanted to always be able to look up and see someone that looked like me, that gave me the possibility to say, oh, I can be there because I see other Black women that look like me in those positions. The second thing that I would say is you need to be damn good at what you do.
Okay.
Right? Because you have to have performance is the foundation. Performance is the foundation for everything that you do. They need to know that you're going to deliver every single time. Then the next piece of that is image. And image is not just about a professionalism that you have. Image is about how you show up with a level of confidence, right? With a level of savviness that you understand the business, not just the role that you do. You understand how the company makes its money. You're familiar with the products. That's creating a brand for yourself. And then the next I would say is exposure. You got to get exposed to people that are making decisions. So you should have mentors and sponsors. I want to make sure you all know the difference because I run into people all the time who don't. Mentors are people that you write in a proposal and you go into their office and you like, help me edit this. Yeah. They're your right there. Sponsors, you sometimes don't even know they exist. They've been watching you from afar, and they're like, wow, when she come in a room to present, she has her stuff together. She's that, and they're talking about you in conversations or in rooms that you don't even know exist. But you will pick up on them favoring you in the way that they question you when you're in the room with them, or when you see them, they make a point to speak, right? It's different things that they will let on to have you to know. The other thing about exposure is try your best to be in positions to get in front of the decision makers.
So increase visibility.
Absolutely take on projects that have high visibility.
Mm-hmm. I talk about it all the time. Yep, right. I talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm. And do things that not only build the business, but build the organization. A true leader builds the business and builds the organization, and they coach other people. Those are things that I say and I've used in my career that have lent itself to have me to be successful. The other thing I would say is I make no excuses for my mistakes. Shit happens. I own it and I move forward. People may hold on to it. It's real. People may hold on to it. They may try to hold it against you. You may get caught up in your emotions. And I'm telling you, push through or you will get stuck. They don't get to write your story. So I move in a place of power. I deserve to be there. I act like I deserve to be there. I know I deserve to be there. And anybody around me who don't know will know. Will know. And leadership presence is everything. I've been taught in my career that before you get promoted, you're already doing the job.
Right. Oh, it's good.
So there is no real transition.
That's
the transition that you have is learning the new people, is learning, the ins and out of the organization. But when it comes to the work, that's what you lean on. You lean on knowing the work while you navigate all the other things that are happening.
Yep, and I talk about that all the time. I talk about that all the time about you do the work where you are now. You don't wait till you get to that level and do the work. You got to be ready before you get there. I talk about that all the time. Yes.
If I can leave the women with one thing, we lack confidence. The fight that you're in, when you finally get there, you want to exhale. You need to do that at home with your girlfriends and your man and your mama and your children and all that. No, ma'am. And I wish I could tell you that it wasn't hard. So I concluded that it's hard, but I'm going to be myself in the midst of that. Now, you're not authentic to self and you're fighting an uphill battle, that war will take you out. So I commit to loving me and being authentic, and then I move through the rest of the shit. I know your squad gonna be like, this woman cuss all the time.
They already know I put up there on your shit. They okay.
So I would just say we have to develop a level of confidence. I can't tell you how many reviews that I've sat in where people will question not the work or what you're delivering, but they're concerned about your confidence. And yes, they may be nitpicking, but I see us with our countenance drop. I see us being concerned. Bob walk in the room and don't know nothing. And he sit there and bullshit the whole meeting. With confidence, yes, we're going to do, and this is how it's going to be done, and here, we're blah, 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 and you know he don't know. You come in like, well, there's a few things that we need to do first. Well, if we could, well, I'm saying, damn it, we can't do it based on your report.
So how do our Black women go in the room and boss up without having that stereotype placed upon them?
Jerry, I don't understand why we care about the stereotype.
Hey, look, I have an audience I have to speak for, right? I have an audience I have to speak for here.
I wish I could just touch so many women to just give them this energy I have around why do you care? Get what's coming to you and keep it moving.
Exactly.
We want to be liked. We so want to be liked. We just, and I get it, and I know it's the way we was brought up, it's the culture, it's how we were raised. We are community, we take care of each other. I got all that. Corporate America will eat you alive, and because you choose to play in it, you need to recognize the game, learn the rules, and decide how you want to play. I'm not encouraging you to be anything other than yourself, but I am encouraging you to recognize where you are, and then you deal accordingly. And there are some rough days, don't get me wrong. There's days I got a headache, my head spinning, I'm going to kill and cuss everybody out that come in my way. And then I regroup and I get centered, because what that tells me is that I lost my grounding. And I got to get back re-anchored and then go in. And every time I deviate from being me, I lose. And when I get back re-anchored and centered, I move through the bullshit real quick.
And see, what I love what Tawana's saying is exactly what and she's saying it a little bit different than how I pretty much preach it. But you do have to go in with a strategy. You have to go in. You have to go in knowing what you want to get out of that job and stay focused on that. So when she says go in with the confidence and all of those things, you shouldn't give a damn what they're thinking, because it is about your strategy. It is about what you want out of the job. It is about you preparing where you are for the next level. So what she's saying is what I preach all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's true. It's truly important. And so you won't have to worry about the angry Black woman or you coming in with what they consider to be sass. This is who you are. You're getting the job done. You're being maximum. You're being effective. You know how to communicate with power. You're checking ass when you need to.
Right. And you keep it moving. I have great friends at work, right? Like once they get to know me, I joke around. I'm having fun. But you train people how to treat you. Exactly. They know, like, Tawana is silly, which I am. But when I'm handling the business, I'm handling the business. And they know that. So we have a great relationship. And anyone that struggled with it, that's their issue.
Not yours.
Right. I got enough stuff, lady. I'm not taking on nobody else's stuff.
So we got a question from Sarah. She says, which pie is most important to help you advance? If one has been tarnished, so I'm assuming your professional image, what have you, how do you rebuild it? So
great question, Sarah. Yeah. I view all of them as important, but I started out with the P as the foundation. So you got to deliver despite what's happening. Right? So that's the performance. That's why you're there. That's why they're paying you, irregardless to what's happened. Then the image piece, I would say to you, focus on a few people that can speak to what your true image is and use them to leverage how to help you get looked at differently. Right? And any opportunity you have to show a different side of whatever they may believe or not believe to be true, you should. The other thing that I would say, without knowing where you feel your image has been tarnished, because I find that sometimes we will focus on the minutia of what we believe people really think about us, and it get us caught up. And then we quickly start to divert from the reallys of what we need to be focused on.
Okay, so I hope that was helpful for you. Monica says this is fantastic. I'm going to replay this over and over. I need you in my life last year. Yes,
I'm quite sure you grew tremendously, Monica, and this is coming just in time.
Yes, indeed. Ada says, awesome information. Phyllis says, you're giving me life. Thank you both. And then Forrest, I think this is one of your girls right here. She said, that's right.
That's my sister. She better agree.
Tiffany said, oh my God, too real. This has been great. The leadership point, I know the leadership piece was important. I wanted to make sure that we touched on that. Anything around, I think before we go, then I know it's 9:14, but I'm going to be respectful of your time too. when it comes to women desiring to break that glass ceiling, right? What were some of your journey, your specific journey, Tawana, and being a VP in HR and your, you know, what were some of the things in your journey of getting to that level that you had to learn or change or adjust to, or getting to that level?
So there was a couple of things. I'll say this way. I love hard. What that means is I'm so freaking passionate about helping people and women of color in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go to bat. And I can honestly tell you, Sherry, that many times I was disappointed because they would go back and tell Uncle Bob as I was trying to coach them. So
Wow.
to some extent, I had to back away a little bit and realize that I can't save everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard pill to swallow. What happened though with that is I always considered myself to be fair and equitable to all, but there was a view from the others in the organization that I only cared about Black folks and I only wanted them. And as I did this degree of separation, it allowed them to actually, they filled up my calendar more than us to get coaching and exposure. And that opened up a lot of learning for me.
Okay.
Right. So it allowed me to see what the perception was of me and that that's not what I wanted. I do care about all, but I make no apologies about how I feel about us and women. So that was one that was huge for me. And it was very emotional, by the way. The second, being in HR and you care, it's a thankless role.
Mm-hmm.
You help people and they don't even know that you're helping. And the minute they don't get, what they want or how they think, they're mad at the world. And you got to be okay with that. And I say that because that ties back to your motive of why you do what you do. Because if you're doing what you're doing to get a thank you, then you're not authentic.
Right.
I had to wrestle with that. So for me, all these things come back to the me, how I wanted to show up, what I wanted my brand and my equity to be known for. And I struggled early on in my career of just trying to figure that all out. And then I would say, lastly, as I never thought I had a ceiling.
Wow, I like that.
Somebody told me I did though. But I never thought about it. And when they shared it, I went, that's not going to work.
Right.
Right. But it was a great motivator because I put my ass on with my cape and I went in and did some work. Right. But I don't have a ceiling today and I wouldn't allow anyone to give me a ceiling. And so I search for mentors and people of all races, all colors that wanted to invest in me, and I leveraged the hell out of those relationships.
All right, so for us, you said people can't get into the group. That's probably why because they probably wanted to get into the group after we started the live. So
right.
That's probably what they were doing is they can't get in because they've asked to get in after we started. So I don't know. I'm gonna look here and see if I can jump in. We almost done now. I mean, we about to wrap it up to be honest, but I'll let them in.
I'll show proof that we were here.
Yes, look, I will let them in. I mean, that's all the more reason why you have to get into the live before we start. Because once we start, I can't be checking my phone and checking to get everybody in here. So, okay, well, I'm in here, So anyway, Tawana, thank you so much. Now, for you guys, I didn't say this at first when we started, but for those of you know, Tawana is one third or one of Evoke Life, which you guys know Evoke Life. We did a career Smart's masterclass with them last month, but they've also have done one in the past with us a couple of years ago. So we continue to stay up with what they're doing. So Evoke Life is fantastic. To want to share with them what Evoke Life is.
So Evoke Life by Design is a well-being company, and basically we work on transformation for women, and I can now say for men, because they've been calling us like, what's up with this? We want to get in.
Okay.
Yeah, so we actually have, quite a few men clients now. And basically our mantra is being is the new doing. So we spend time with our clients, whether it's corporate or individually, helping them to understand what's this default that's been running their life, and how that if they're up to expansion, what could those possibilities look like? And so we are having a blast. And Sherry, thank you so much for all your support of us. I am in partnership with two amazing women, Dr. Ronnie Ellington and Radiah Rhodes. Radiah just wrote a book on Being is the New Doing, where she talks through our process and the intention, and she walks it through by her life story of how she's used our process, our methodology, which is rooted in spirit, science, and reality.
And this is I spelled it wrong. Hold on. You can find them in terms of on Twitter, Facebook. This is their handle right here. To find more about them, Evoke Life, that's their handle. And then you can also go to evokelife.com to check out more about what they do. Again, I love this trio. They are phenomenal. And the energy when these three get together is like amazing, you guys. So, and this will not be the end. You will see more of them to come. And
we're trying to get Sherry to invite us to come talk to her tribe in person.
Yes. Talk about bringing them to Cincy, and that right there is going to be life changing. I mean, that is going to be phenomenal to be able to have you guys present for that. So, definitely more to come from Evoke Life team. In reference to that. And what I love about all three of these women, they bring such a difference. All three are from very different industries, right? They all did three different things in terms of their professional background. And I think Monica has talked to Ronnie in the past, and Ronnie is just like a who. I mean, but you talk about raw, real, rugged.
That's her. That is her.
Absolutely amazing. But these three together are so dynamic. So hopefully my goal is to get all three of you guys on one of these together. Yes. That is going to be a treat. So we'll definitely have to make that happen soon. But you guys definitely can find out more about all three of them at evokelife.com is where you can find out more about what they do and who they are. So any last words, Tawana, that you have for?
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to the women. I love me some Black women. We make it happen no matter what. And I just encourage you to take back your power and know that you have support. It's from the universe. It's already ordained. You just got to walk into it. So, and Sherry, of course, thank you for the work that you do. I know you're making an impact with these women, and it's phenomenal. It's needed. And you all keep chiming in and hearing Sherry share wisdom and bring on great talent so that you can get what you need to be successful. So thank you so much.
Monica says, yes, Ronnie told me about myself and love.
That would be my partner. That would be my partner.
He says, thank you for staying over time. We appreciate it. And then Tiffany says, thank you so much, ladies. This has been a real blessing. This has been a fun master class. I mean, this has been phenomenal. And I'm about to say probably one of the best ones so far this year, I would have to say. So I have definitely enjoyed myself, and I'm glad that you all have enjoyed this too. We will have a replay of this, so don't worry about that. If you didn't miss it or if you have some friends who didn't catch it, we're going to have a replay for it as well. Real quick, tell them where they can find you specifically, Tawana, on social media. Yes, I know.
So definitely go through Evoke. Tawana is trying to get on social media, but I do have a Facebook. So I am Tawana Baghwat on Facebook. That's about all I got for you, ladies. So go. I know me and social media. Yeah, maybe we could switch roles and I can get some coaching from you all how to do better. Terry set me up for that. She knows.
I'm sorry, but then you know what? You have made such an impact in these women. They gotta know where to find you now.
I'm on Facebook. Yes, I am.
So you can find her there. So you guys, of course, you can also follow us at Twitter at BCW Network, and I'll go ahead and put that up here as well. If you guys are not a member of Black Career Women's Network, I do encourage you guys to join. Because part of what we do is we have the resources. We share certain things specifically within our Facebook group, but you're not reaping all the benefits and the access of what you can gain as being a member. So just go to bcwnetwork.com and join and become a member. So again, we're going to be doing another career masterclass next month. Have not announced the date yet, so we're waiting for an answer from our possible special guest. And once we have that confirmed, we will announce. But we definitely are going to bring Tawana back soon for probably HR Confidential Part 2. We'll make it a little bit more specialized this time around, okay? But I hope she was able to answer a lot of you guys' questions. And I want to leave you with this quote, which is, the life God gave you is larger than the life you've been living, which means that, you know, God gives us all special gifts. He gives us all special talents, but it's our job to discover what those are and to use them to work in our purpose. So I hope you guys have an awesome, awesome night. And we will see you on our next Career Smarts Masterclass. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.